I do think there are good reasons to hold cash, just in general, right? Of course, if you need to spend it. So you're spending money, particularly if you're in retirement. Most people are going to have 1 or 2 or maybe 3 months worth of cash at any one time just to fund living expenses. I get that. I think having an emergency fund is a smart thing to do. In our case, we've got a little bit more cash than that because next month I got to pay taxes, both for 24 and estimated, and we're doing some things with the house that will stretch out between now and maybe the end of summer. So I've got all that money set aside in cash, but I don't ever say, you know what, I want to have extra cash because the market's in turmoil, or because the economy's on shaky footing, or because of the tariff issue that we're seeing now, and maybe the possibility of recession. I just don't think there's a need for cash. Here's the deal: longer term bonds, particularly intermediate term bonds, are going to outperform cash. Now, they don't always, and we've seen that recently. That's changed now, but there are times when cash, or think T-bills, will outperform intermediate term treasuries. That's when the yield, they call it an inverted yield curve. It can often, although not always, indicate that a recession is around the corner. But generally, the longer the duration or maturity of I'll call it cash or bonds, the higher the yield. And so intermediate term yields, as an example, returns tend to be higher than cash over the long term. And so holding too much cash is just a drag on returns. And I personally find that high quality, say U.S. government and investment grade corporate bonds, maybe municipal bonds, intermediate term, including TIPS, are just a better place to get the stability that I need in my portfolio than in cash. And in fact, if you look at, let me just pull up real quick, the stock market today, here it is. And this is just the Apple stock app. And if I go to let's see, if I go to BND, well, let's first go to the S&P and we'll look at year to date. We're down what? We're only, it's funny, year to date, we're only down 4%. I mean, I know it seems worse than that. I think because of the tariffs and the recession and all these things, we're only down 4%. We happen to be up today, almost 2%. And if you look at BND, though, year to date, we're up just under 1.5%. So this is sort of normal in my mind. This is what you want to happen. If stocks are having a difficult year, bonds, will balance out the portfolio. Now, we saw in 22 that didn't happen, but that was honestly a once in a century kind of event. 2022 brought about in part because interest rates started at 0%. Obviously not the case today. And so I just find that bonds are a better way long term to give my portfolio diversification and balance, and holding more cash than I need, particularly just because there may be chaotic times around the corner. I don't see the point of that. What am I going to do with the cash? I'm not. It's just going to sit there. But I have bonds to do that. And they may be a little more volatile, particularly intermediate term, but they're still a fairly stable, secure investment. So that's my approach.